Try to be fast. Welcome everybody. My name is Mischa Diehm. First of all, I want to thank you, Severin, and Urs and the whole team who created this space and give us opportunity to exchange with like-minded people. I really appreciate that. Even coming from Basel, which is quite a travel, but let's see. I work for a company called Narrowin. It's a small startup coming out of the University of Basel. So I worked there as a network engineer for many years. And when we found the company, we started with a mini diode firewall solution based on OpenWRT Linux that does microsegmentation. So we at the university had big problems with a lot of legacy and unpatchable devices like mass spectrometers, electron microscope, and tons of other things. And we wanted to have a plug and play solution to solve this problem, and we solved it. But we figured it's not the time of microsegmentation yet in these environments, so we have much more problems even finding regular segmentation done right. So today we are more focused on we kind of grew into the OT space to having a lot of energy companies as customers, and we created a software that pulls the network and gives you a visualized representation of that data and lets you navigate that data and ask questions about your network. And we try to provide you with feedback what you could improve on the network. So that about us. We also build and design and operate networks. So we're small teams, so we count on automation. It's yeah, it's what we like and what we do. And the pictures, I still dig this stuff until today. I like it. It's fun. I don't know why it's a strange thing, but I like the network space. So when I first heard about Containerlab, that was at AutoCon. Just maybe to hear who's heard about it or who uses it. Okay, so that's a lot of people. And who's fairly familiar with the whole container stuff? Okay, so I can kind of skip on that. So anyway, I was at the university. Honestly, we didn't give a crap about containers. We kind of had our network gear. We did our stuff. We were fine. We started building first automation based on Rancid and Perl. And anyway, so now fast forwarding to AutoCon, I got to know Containerlab, and it's really, since we also develop software, I kind of got familiar with the containers. Not so normal in the network industry, I think. So I also got to enjoy it. So now we have this technology that's on top of it, and we will see what it can give us. So for us, I this title, I gave this talk a bunch of times. It's just a catchy title, digital twin. Everybody kind of has their own interpretation. For us, it gives us these pillars. It gives us the option to do really design development and validate these designs. And you will find a lot of validated designs by, for example, Nokia gives you validated EVPN designs based on Containerlab. So you can learn about it and you can understand how you build your data center or WAN or whatever you want to build. And then it's really great for in the team for education. You can easily share it, but also in a broader scope. So we also do with Switch, we give network classes for educational reasons, and we use it there. It can really help. So when we do a new network for a new customer, we start with the Containerlab. That's where we start until we got the hardware. We have the full thing set up and running, and it gives us a nice head start in trying to figure things out. And then we got the whole automation and testing part, which is really becoming more and more mandatory, I think. And there you can test you can integrate your source of truth, whatever that is. We use nuts for testing, your CI/CD pipelines, and you name it. So how does that look like in an ideal perspective out of our view? You should be able to somehow mimic. So you have your production network. There's some way you get this into the digital twin, and but your deployment pipeline or your tooling, your automation, your Ansible, your Norni, whatever you use, should be just the same going either to your, you should be able to use exactly the same, ideally even, you have even the same IP address space for the management and so on. You can just kind of copy. I'll get to you later how you get from here to here, what are your options. And then you have your tooling, like, I like NTOP. Maybe you guys should look at NTOP too. It's actually pretty cool. And they have a deduplication for the net flows and the IPFix. So and all the other stuff, right? It's just examples. And so we can kind of skip. So coming out of Nokia, it's open source. It's a wonderful piece of software, and also the documentation is really amazing, and can only recommend looking into it. And what does a workflow look like if you want to start with it and get going? So you install Containerlab. That can be done on your OS or through VS Code extension that does it for you. So it gives you, so Containerlab has a VS Code extension. VS Code is an IDE that lets you, do different things in programming, and they have an extension that's really nice. It's really worth looking at it, even if you don't like VS Code. Just for this extension, you might want to check it out. Anyway, you get the software, you get the lab file, and that's the nice thing, right? It starts with a YAML, as almost everything today. So you get this really nice descriptive way of your lab. So we will see how it looks like. Then you deploy this YAML file. Hopefully everything goes right. You do your thing, and then you either save, or now since the newest release, you can even snapshot your labs, or then you destroy and start from scratch. And so the biggest question is, how do you actually get your network equipment into Containerlab? And there's basically two ways to do this. If you have a nice vendor that embraces containers and automation, like Arista and Nokia, then you will get a Docker image or a container image, and you can easily just use that and deploy. So both, Nokia is really great, and you don't even have to let your email or anything to get that image. Arista, you have to accept some whatever agreement, but you still get it. And then you just use it, and you start working with it as if it was a hardware appliance. Then there's other so-called market leader vendors that they have containerized images, but they won't let you use it, namely Cisco, right? So if you're a Cisco shop, go to your Cisco partner, whatever your contact is, and say, hey, look, we would like to use these, because they only let you use it in CML. They're Cisco modeling labs. They have it, which is surprising, but they have it. And so it would be nice if we could legally use them. Obviously, it's really simple to get them and use them, but if you want to share a lab, I cannot just put on the internet now a Cisco lab and share the images with you. That's kind of frustrating. And then there's vendors that don't give you a container-based image. And you get tons of vendors that give you a VM, right? Like the firewall vendors, Fortinet, Palo Alto, MikroTik. I'm a big MikroTik fan, you will see. And others. So and like the Nexus platform from Cisco, the big irons that you get VMs of that. And there's this project, it's called VRNetLab. Actually, the link's wrong here. It's used to be under Roman's repository now. So they had to. So this is not from Containerlab. That has been existing before, but there needed to be adaptations to it, and that's why they forked it from Containerlab. And with this, you can actually get Palo Alto, Fortinet, all the vendors I named, into Containerlab. And what it does, it's a wrapper. You just download the image, you say make inside this folder, and it creates your Docker image or container image. Keep talking about Docker, shouldn't do that. Container image that lets you deploy in Containerlab. So it's just a wrap around it, and it has some funny side effects. And once you get your head around it, what it does, it's actually quite marvelous and also surprising that it works. But it works, and Containerlab puts some magic around it so that it works quite seamless. So there's over 30 network operating systems now supported, Cumulus and more Sonic and all this kind of stuff. You get it. Obviously, all the Linux-based stuff works. So there's a big chance that your vendor, if it's a larger vendor, is actually supported. And if not, there's ways you can get it in there. If you can get a VM, it's not so difficult actually. So what does it look like? You start with a topology definition. You have here, you say, okay, this lab has MikroTiks in it. This is where you get your image. This image for the NOS. This is the Linux, and this is what I mean. Right now, this is a public registry where you can just download this stuff. I can share this with you, and if this were Cisco, I wouldn't be able to just share it with you, and you couldn't just start it. So this is where I meant that it would be nice we have it. So we're more in the OT space. So we do with Switch OT lab that's based on Containerlab. Just going to explain real quick what we have. We have a bunch of switches, that's 4. We have some OT equipment that gives you this water treatment. So there's some PLCs, and you can actually activate stuff. You can look at the Modbus traffic and all this stuff. And it's really handy if you want to debug things, specific obscure OT protocols and things happening there, especially if they're multicast and other things. So yeah, let's have a look here. So this is a repository. So how do we, the easiest way to use this without any local dependencies, actually, if you have a GitHub account, somebody shares a lab with you and they have this button here, it says opening code space, you click it, it opens a new code space for you if the network lets you. I don't know. eduroam is somehow not, I had it running before, so it lets you create this new workspace. And what this does, it's a GitHub feature. So I don't know if are you familiar with the code spaces? No. So code spaces is a GitHub feature that lets you run dev containers. It's a technology that lets you create development environments that are, if you're developing software, or in this case running labs, it's always the same. You deploy it, and each developer just uses it and has the same environment, has the same Python library, same Python binary, the same, you can set it up so it's always the same. And this is actually using that. So it's starting a container. So if you look at it, it's this one. This is it's a specification. Actually, the documentation is also really good. It's worth looking into it, I think, if you do development or just interested in this kind of stuff. It's kind of really approachable. And what it does, it starts this dev container. And this one's also provided by the Containerlab guys. And inside this container, you will run the Containerlab. So you will have the Containerlab already pre-installed. Everything's set up for you. Everything's nice and dandy, right? You get this nice VS Code interface. If you like it, kind of like it. So, and what you have in there is the VS Code extension. So this one's already set up for you. So I need to reload here. Somehow it was too slow. So in the first time you start this lab, it will take some time. It needs to pull in all the containers. But then once it's there, this is this Containerlab extension. You have here the two. Then you can say, okay, just deploy me this segmented network. And what this network looks like, it's also really nice. They have this topo viewer. It's not even started yet, but you can look at the topology, and you can, obviously, I kind of arranged it. But you see here all the devices. You can give some. So if you're for your colleagues or you're doing whatever, share it. You can say, okay, these are the devices in here. So you have a bunch of Linux machines in there. They are all acting as OT equipment, and you have some network gear, which are these. They are MikroTiks. You have a firewall. You have layer 2 switches, and you have like and you have a Diehm set, and you have internet. So it's really easy to mimic this, and there's even now in this top of your thing, you can even create the lab like this. So that if you're like stupid YAML, I don't want to write it, you can actually drag and drop things here, and you can drag your Nokia in there, your Cisco, and so on. So this takes a while to set up. If you're interested in this lab and what it does, it's there I have it on the end for you guys. So it's online. You can look at it. It will be in the notes. The lab's not fully open source yet, but the whole thing, how it works, we have it open sourced. We have a lab that's based on MikroTik that shows you how to use full automation with Ansible. It's developed together with Scicor, the supercomputing facility of the University of Basel. You just click run code space, then you run the Ansible like it's written here, and then you see how the deployment works. And you can really, it's really, if you're not into automation yet, this is really a good way how you can start it, right? How you can get into it, how you can test your pipelines without breaking anything. And the best thing is on any of these links, as soon as it comes up now, let me see if it's actually see if it's up and running. So the best thing is you can, anywhere in this lab, you can just click on a link and you can say, hey, show me the TCP dump of this link. And you can tap in any connection of this link and it will open. You see here, this is running on GitHub, right? This is actually opening a Wireshark in the GitHub environment for me that lets me Wireshark on any of the links in my lab, if the internet will let me do it. But if you have Init 7 at home, this will be really fast. Eduroam kind of, I don't know what's happening. But anyway, here it is. I didn't have to say this, no. I mean it. Anyway, so you see, and this is really powerful. Also for yourself, if you're checking things out with, it's kind of old school, but there is still these huge amounts of spanning tree issues that you face all over the place. This is really nice to dig into this, to understand what's happening, to save the dump, to interact with your dump in a way that you can hear also. That's also free. It's all free to use at this point. You don't need anything. You can use the Copilot and ask it. No, not this one. You can ask it stuff. I don't know what to ask it here. What would I do? What could I do better with my segmented network? How do you like the firewall? You can just start playing with this stuff and understand things. So if you're new to Nokia, for example, or new to Arista, and you have this setup, you can say, hey, this is the config. Can you tell me about EVPN? And you start learning. And I think this is really convenient. I would have loved this when I was starting with the network stuff. But anyway, so we have it now. It's nice, right? So packet captures I showed. There's obviously the CLI works. There's little tools that help you. You can tap into the namespace if you're a CLI junkie and love namespaces. But I like the Wireshark stuff, and it's quite convenient. So how do you? So not just a few words. How do you get from your production network to your digital twin? So obviously there's some ways that there's a software out there. If you use Netbox, that actually takes your Netbox instance and from whatever Netbox discovers, tries to create the Containerlab for you. That's an option, right? You could use our software. So yeah, show this real quick. So this is the software we wrote that I mentioned, the Explorer. So we're having here like an OT ring, and it's all based on Containerlab, this demo system. It's publicly available. We have like a Cisco IT network that's with MLAX and Star and this OT ring. And obviously there's software you can, ideally, so I will have to talk to Severin. Ideally, we mark these, we right click, say create Containerlab. If you already have the adjacencies of your network, it's actually fairly easy to create a Containerlab that meets your standards. So if you have somebody that likes programming in your group, there's Napalm out there. Nuts uses it as a backend, so you can get structured data from the LLDP and the CDP. But what you need to get is somehow the neighbor adjacencies to put them in the YAML, right? And obviously LLDP, although it's a standard, everybody implements it differently. So really building a software like this, it's really about looking at each vendor output and doing the scraping and understanding what the hell they put there. But you could also create it by hand and say, okay, this is my core network. It's also done fast, depending on the size you want to mimic. And then the question is how to use your production running configs inside the lab. And there's actually not much depending on the vendor, but usually there's some close hardware features that obviously are not supported. Switch stacking, for example. You cannot switch stack. I don't know if you know backplane stacking. It's not supported in Containerlab. And for example, MLAX, it's a hardware feature, at least in MikroTik. Arista, it's a software feature. You have to check if it works. But other than that, you need so there's no SFP, there's no LWL fiber optics in the Containerlab. It's all virtual interfaces, vEthers. So you need to transform that part, but that's done actually quite easily with a wrapper script that you can use and develop for your platform. And then you can really just take what you have inside your production network and start up the machine, so you can actually apply every machine you have in there with a startup config, and you have it, right? The really nice thing about Containerlab is it always provides you with a management network that in case you break anything, it doesn't matter. You always will reach your devices through the management network. So you can screw up big time. It's no problem. You will still, what you wish for in in reality too, but that's yeah. But that's provided. So some remarks for more advanced stuff. What's really nice, so Containerlab automatically builds you an inventory for Ansible and Nornir, and actually you can put labels on your devices and then use these labels as group labels all in Ansible and in Nornir. So you don't even have to, for your automation, for your labs, you don't have to create the inventory. The inventory is there for you to use. You have the C lab, you can just use it, do an Ansible run or Nornir run and leverage that inventory. There's really easy ways to share a lab if you want a colleague to jump in. There's the live, if you use VS Code, there's the live sharing plugin. There's an open source Ghost TTY plugin. Then there's this other one, SSHX. It's more a command line thing, but it's also really convenient to share, and it's also really convenient to run this stuff on your laptop. It's not so resource hungry unless you have the Nexus image or SR Linux image, or But here I'm running this demo lab runs these 40 machines running in a minute. It's up and running on the laptop. We developed this tool. It's open source. We call it Networker. It puts the A for automation in Networker. So it's a simple tool. So we use nuts for network testing when we deliver the network, because over time the customer changes our network, and we just use the nuts to say, hey, this is what we delivered to you, and now it's broken, and we didn't break it. So that kind of helps us communicate with our customers in a more structured way what is broken and that we didn't break it. And the network is really just a CLI tool for you to get started. It maybe I can just show it real quick. It it lets you, so it also has an inventory. So this one has the inventory of the, disclose this one again. So you know, you can say, for example, it has a diff option. You can diff different configs in your lab. You can CLI into your lab, into a group of your lab, and it just gives you like a view, a Tmux view on the whole thing. You can run a whole bunch of commands on each of the things, each of the group members, and just simple things like this that make your day easier. And I think that's really approachable. So you can what do I have? -C. You can run a bunch of commands that env run OT lab, I don't know, health check. These are predefined for you for the platform. So this is for MikroTik now, but works for Nokia, for Cisco. It's multi-platform, and it just runs the didn't work. Oh, there's the L missing. Just runs a bunch of commands on your infrastructure, and it's also an easy way to start with your labs and to interact with your labs and to figure out what the hell's going on, right? So there's a whole bunch of tools. That's actually what I want to say, that help you with your journey and that are out there for free and that you can just leverage. And so this is a more complex network of the OT one we designed. And what I just want to show here is that you can bring in all these tools. So we bring in usually NTOP, NUTS, Loki, Ansible, NTP, you know, any service that you want. And you can even, it's really easy to bridge to real networks. So if you say, hey, I have my DNA center, I'm not going to duplicate it in my lab. You can just use your DNA center and bridge it into your lab and actually run against systems in your lab. Not that you should buy and use DNA center, but you know that if you had it. So yeah, and what I also want to show, what is really convenient and nice, and this is actually also really powerful, what I think is what they made here with the code space. So we have these containers here running, and what they, if you open a port in the container, code space grabs that port and lets you actually open it safely for yourself. So you see here, visibility is private. Not everybody on the internet can just access this, but me, as I'm actually with the browser authenticated as me as the user, I can actually open this port and access any service that I want to expose in my lab. You know, that's important for me to navigate. So if the whatever there. So this is actually the whole OT environment. You know, you can tap into it. You can start. You know, it's always OT guys always start with all the stuff not running. So you got to start all the stuff, the pumps and also. So this is now running inside the lab. This is a service inside the lab, a so-called HMI, human interface, machine interface, and this is also possible. So just want to share how you can easily through that access this kind of stuff. Yeah, so maybe I need to hurry up a bit. You know, business perspective. Actually, the important stuff shouldn't drop this. So you know, it really gives you a different way of working and thinking as a team. And I think if you can start, and it's also, you know, it's motivating. I think it's fun. So if you find people in the team that want to do it, they provide the lab for the others. The others can just consume it. But in the end, I think it really gives you very, very great options to start and begin automating and testing things that you would like to test in your networks. Bunch of links. Really, the Containerlab dev the Containerlab documentation is worth reading. It's really outstanding. Don't shortcut on it. There's a lot of great stuff in there that you detect. There's some good videos out there by one of the guys that Roman Dodin that do the Containerlab, and yeah. There's also, if you happen to, so there one guy made all the CCIE labs for service provider. All of them are available for free, so you can, if you're studying for that CCIE, you just go there and of course all the answers. Sorry?
When you catch the image,
yeah,
that's the issue.
yeah.
That's not so easy.
Okay, you tried it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You need to find a way to.
That's why this doesn't make it easy for you, right? That's the thing. Why would they? You're the customer. It's. So anyway, I thank you a lot and hope you got something inspirational from it and liked it. And if there's any questions, I can take them. And otherwise, we see each other at the beer. Thanks. Yeah.
Two questions. So you showed the customer's application, like the OT thing, turning on and off pumps. So did you just like bring the application into that lab as part of the networking stuff?
Yes. So the OT machines, it's actually a vendor. They don't produce their own hardware, but they produce the logic. So they're software company called Codesys. They're from Germany. So we're bringing in the PLCs into. So they actually have a runtime that we bring into that actually also based on containers that we can bring in. That's why we cannot open source it yet, the lab, because we're kind of negotiating with them if we can, open source, like just make their images available. But what we're doing is we're taking the Codesys runtime, we're putting this into Linux and emulating the PLCs like they were real, Yeah.
Other ones, what about like if you have a lab where, because this like stuff is ugly as hell.
Yeah.
Networking is badly implemented on these PLCs.
Yeah.
What if could you do like VXLAN testing where you need to build up a VXLAN that stretches a flat network across sites, so some ugly maintenance tool can see the error key packets and
Yeah. It's a great question. So actually, yes. So that's actually one of the use cases where you can say, hey, look, I have these devices that are real, that they're you have them, and you have this idea of how you wanna implement a secure network based on, for example, VXLAN with Nokia or with Arista. Yeah. So you bring in the Arista virtual machines, but you're bridging out you're bridging out to the real network. So it's actually quite easy to bridge out to real devices from the C lab, right? You can you create you have a extra network interface. You create a bridge on it. You hook it up to your whatever the equipment is, and then you start actually using that as your equipment. So
would you actually see the error key tables in each of the devices getting populated?
Yes, yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, you can the whole reference designs for example from both vendors, I think Arista and Nokia. You can, I didn't show it, but it's no, not .com. So they have these lab examples here, and for example, you get and there you see everything, right? You see obviously they're not bridged out, they're all in software. So where's the cloche fabric? So you immediately get this, for example, and this is there for you to just start. You get the YAML, you start it. As Nokia is so nice with their images, you it automatically gets downloaded. You run startup sh, it deploys the fabric, and you can immediately watch how things are going in the fabric. Yeah.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Cool.